Dr. David Lewandowski discusses how today's typical lifestyle leads to stress and how to approach exercise.
Our genetics, they're a code on how to handle stresses, how to adapt to them, okay? And we've never, in human history of seemingly around 2 million years of human history, we've never encountered the magnitude of stress or the type of stresses that we do today. So a really big event, and it happened over a number of decades, but was the Industrial Revolution. And that changed the amount of stresses and the kind of stresses that we had to deal with. Because the speed of information, our emotional stresses, and advertising to us, and all that changes our emotional state. So it adds a lot more emotional stress because we start believing things are important to our happiness, which aren't. And then physically, it's like we will never get used to sitting on our butts. Like our spines are not designed, you know, as I'm talking, I'm here sitting, but our spines are actually not designed to be in a seated position at all. And so like we either should be standing or lying down. You can't take out the initial conditions in which we developed or we evolved from, which were lots of physical activity, range of motion, no running, for example, no repetitive running of flat surfaces, moderate aerobic activity. That would only be times of like warfare or volcano going off or floods or whatever that you need to run any long distance. That's why we have a brain, to develop technology. Our primal requirements for exercise to keep us vital and healthy are, you know, we're designed to walk. We're designed to walk around 6 to 9 miles a day. Every 4 to like 10 days or so, we are hit with more of a heavier stress, like we're building a canoe or we're hunting or we're lifting up an animal that we killed or whatever, more of a strength, high intensity type exercise. We don't have the ability to like run down an animal. Like the only reason why we do anything in this sense physical is to acquire food, water, or shelter, or a mate. And there's no mate you need to run down for 20 miles or 10 miles. You don't need to run down water. You don't need to run down your food. You need to develop tools and technology and a plan to capture them. You're supposed to be smarter than they are. Develop your brain. And then shelter. There again, that's why we have a brain. So we can protect ourselves from the elements and meet all those survival needs. And running long distance, the only reason why you would do that, like I said, is very infrequently, extremely infrequently, maybe once a year or whatever, if you wanted to move to higher ground because a flood, a rapidly progressing flood was coming, or a volcano was about to go off, you want to pick up and be able to run. But even that would be on an uneven surface. It wouldn't be this flat, hard surface. It would be sod, it would be dirt, grass.
How does long-distance running affect the body, and how is it similar to other stressors?
That turns on the stress physiology, so your body doesn't differentiate whether you are being chased by a bear, a legitimate threat to your survival, or whether you ate a Twinkie, or you sat on your butt for 4 hours, or whether you're worried about paying your mortgage. It doesn't matter. It shuts down your prefrontal cortex. It shuts down the health and vitality centers of your brain. Something that should only last for like 3 to 5 seconds is lasting all day long, and for weeks and months and years and decades. That's what leads to all chronic disease, because people are running in a state of fight or flight constantly. There's no reason in nature to warm up. It's like, oh wait, pack of wolves, don't attack me. I have to stretch and warm up first. That's ludicrous, that's ridiculous. The body's temperature is the same. only the viscosity of the joints might change, or the neural networks, if you don't fire them regularly, degenerate. But if you do take care of that, there's no need to warm up. You just respond, and that shuts down the prefrontal cortex. That shuts down the health and vitality centers of your brain. But it should only be for like 3 to 5 seconds, and then after you've dealt with that stress, you either run away, changed your environment, or you fought it off and eliminated the stress, whatever it is. But when you're running and your body says, what it's telling the body is like, something is chasing me, because we don't need to run anything down. There's nothing we can run down. You try running after a deer and catching it, you're not going to be very successful. And so like running the long distance, it actually turns on after you warm up, after you run like a mile or 2 or 3 or whatever. Then they say, oh, well, I start feeling better now. That's because their body is releasing endorphins and things. It's preparing them for death. That's like an animal, it's like a herd animal in the African savannah. It actually goes into a state of shock, so it doesn't feel itself being eaten alive or disemboweled. I mean, as gruesome as that sounds, because it's in a state of shock. And there's a reason for that. It's if, you know, whatever's chasing you, say like a bear, for instance, actual threat, and it bit your hand off, you don't want to feel pain, and, you know, it would stop you and go, oh, my hand, and it would catch you and kill you. So for a temporary period of time, it numbs you out of your life experience. That is not like experience life at a higher level. It's just a numbing out. And if they're only comparing that to being in pain, and then, okay, I'm not in pain, but that just means you're numb. It doesn't mean that you're expressing your life. That doesn't mean that you're happy.
What is the best approach to exercise?
It takes very, very little. Just like we would encounter out in nature for millions of years. It's like when you're hunting and gathering, and because we have a strategy in our brain, we'd be able to acquire with a hunt, we'd acquire enough to last us for a good amount of time, you know, 4 days or once a week or whatever. If you had to build it, you know, fix a shelter, or you had to lift a log and carry it and then cut it out to make a canoe, or cut spears or wood to make spears and things like that. That's brief, infrequent, high-intensity exercise. And that's all that's required to keep your muscles fully developed.
For more information, visit universallyaligned.net.